She said her daughter was taken last night. The motel keycard on my desk was stamped 11:45 p.m., and the stamp was still tacky. She stood there like the clock hadn't moved on, waiting for me to do something about it. The mother brought the heat of the afternoon in with her, plus a grocery bag that clinked the way coins do when they're not coins. My office always smelled faintly of old coffee and paper dust, but the bag added something else. Cash that had lived too long in somebody's pocket. She didn't sit until she'd pushed the bag across my desk. "Count it," she said. I didn't like the way she said it. Too practiced, too calm for a missing kid. I untwisted the bag handles and pulled out 2 brick stacks banded in paper straps. 72, she said, all there. I counted anyway. I needed it to be real because I needed it. That part still sits wrong with me. When I hit $7,200, she slid a receipt pad toward me. It wasn't my pad. The paper was too bright, and the perforation was too clean. "Write it," she said. "Received cash, investigation retainer." "Fine," I said. "Your name goes." "No." She tapped the line. "Use this." She pushed over a sticky note with a common fake name. She also pushed a pen, the kind of small move that says she'd rehearsed the scene. I held the pen and didn't move. The office went quiet, except for the wall unit rattling. I didn't like where this was headed, and I stayed in that feeling longer than I should have. "This is for your protection," she said. "My husband doesn't want your name on this." "I don't want my name on fraud," I said. Her jaw tightened. "My daughter's lawyer is already involved." That didn't match the fake receipt demand. It matched leverage. I wrote the fake name anyway. I dated it and tore off the receipt. I handed it to her, and she tucked it into her wallet without reading it. Then she put her phone on speaker. "This is what they have on me." The voicemail started with bar noise, and her voice, a little slurred. "I swear I could rent her," she said in the recording. "Pay off the whole damn—" A man laughed. "Somebody else said you're terrible." The voicemail cut off mid-thought. She stopped it and stared at her phone. "She said they sent it to my church friends. They'll send it to my daughter's school. They'll send it to my husband." I kept my face neutral. I don't take church scandal cases. I also don't work for free, and she'd already paid. "What exactly do you want from me?" I asked. "My daughter didn't come home," she said. "I got that message. Then they sent proof." She slid the motel keycard in its sleeve toward me and set 3 printed security stills beside it. "Room 214, 11:45 p.m. The stills were grainy, black and white. A young woman in a hoodie stepped through a motel lobby entrance. Timestamp, 11:50 p.m. "That's her," the mother said. "That's my daughter." I didn't confirm it. I stocked the stills and put the keycard sleeve on top. "How fast is her lawyer moving?" 48 hours, she said. "He files if this gets mishandled. Fraud, theft." "He thinks people like you take cash and disappear." She said people like you with a clipped mouth, not fear, contempt with a purpose. I wrote down the deadline and circled it. Then I wrote down the part that mattered more. I'd signed a fake name receipt for a cash payment tied to an alleged kidnapping. She stood to go. At the door, she paused, hand on the knob. "You didn't hear that voicemail from me." She left. I stayed at my desk and read the fake name receipt again. The ink was drying into the fibers.
It didn't look forged. It looked willingly written. I read it a second time and didn't find anything new. I read it a third time anyway, slower, and my stomach stayed tight. I locked the cash in my drawer and started with what I could hold. The keycard sleeve, the stills, and the voicemail file she'd forwarded. The keycard sleeve had a batch ID printed in tiny numbers. The stamp was 11:45 p.m. from the prior night. Whoever got room 214 got it at 11:45.
The stills were on cheap office paper, but the corners were too crisp. She hadn't carried these around all day. She'd printed them recently. The hoodie in the stills had a small chest logo. The shoes had clean, light soles. The hands were bare. No restraints. No obvious panic. The mother had described her daughter earlier as leggings, no hoodie, because she always loses them. These stills showed a hoodie that fit. I wrote that down and didn't know what to do with it yet. I'd heard enough parents exaggerate details in a panic that I didn't want to jump. I also didn't trust her, and that didn't feel clean in my head. I called the motel from a prepaid number I keep for cases that end in letters. I'm trying to confirm a reservation, room 214 last night. We don't give out guest information, the clerk said. I have the keycard sleeve, stamped 11:45. I'm trying to see if it's even from you. A pause. If you have a card batch ID, I can confirm it's ours. I read it. Yeah, she said.
That's ours. Checked in at 11:45? I asked. I can't confirm that, she said, and her tone changed. If you're law enforcement, I'm not, I said, private investigator, then I can't help you. She hung up. I sat back and tapped the keycard sleeve against my pad. I'd been hoping the stamp was fake. It wasn't. That meant the keycard sleeve and the stills were part of a coordinated package. I pulled up the voicemail file and checked metadata. It had been exported and resaved twice. Last saved 9:12 a.m. today. That timestamp didn't prove a crime. It proved handling. I underlined it and left it there. I texted the mother from my business line. Need your phone location history for last night and your car toll tag log. She replied, "Why?" "To protect me and you," I texted back. A minute later, she sent a screenshot of location history. It showed her phone at the motel address at 11:47 p.m. and 11:53 p.m. Then she forwarded a toll tag PDF. Her car passed a toll plaza at 11:30 p.m. heading north, away from the motel.
Another toll hit at 12:06 a.m., farther north. A phone at the motel at 11:47. A car going north at 11:30 and 12:06. Those didn't belong to the same clean story. I printed both and set them side by side. My first theory came fast and felt too easy. Someone else drove her car while she took her phone to the motel. I committed to it too fast. I wrote "second driver" in block letters and circled it, like writing it made it true. I needed another anchor point. Room 214. I drove to the motel late afternoon and parked where cameras usually miss. I didn't go inside. I watched doors, watched cars, watched who carried luggage and who didn't. A maintenance guy in a collared shirt was changing trash bags. I waited until he was by the dumpster. "Hey," I said, "room 214. Know if it's occupied?" He tightened a trash bag knot, as if it took his full attention. "I don't give room info." "I'm trying to find a kid," I said. "That's all." He didn't soften, but he talked. "Lots of kids here," he said.
Lots of parents, too. "Last night," I said, "around midnight. Any trouble?"
"One complaint," he said, shouting. "From 214? He hesitated. "From that side." He looked toward the office door. "I gotta work." As he walked off, he said it low. 2 different cars parked by the stairs. Same room. One left, another came. 2 cars, 1 room. A swap. Back in my car, I wrote it down and sat there without starting the engine. The lot smelled of asphalt and pool chemicals. My phone stayed dark in my hand, and I didn't have a clean next step. I went back to the office and ran the toll tag plate through a records portal. It came back linked to a leased vehicle under a small business name, not hers. The business was a family services nonprofit. The registered agent address matched a church office complex. I pulled staff listings and found a youth pastor with a clean headshot and a caption about guiding teens. There was a church email and a phone number. I printed it and added it to the stack. I called the mother. "Your toll tag placed is tied to a church non-profit," I said. Silence. Then, "I borrowed a car," she said. "That doesn't explain your phone at the motel," I said. "It was a mistake," she said. "I panicked." Her words didn't line up with timestamps. I let the silence sit. "I need to speak to your daughter's lawyer," I said. "You don't," she snapped. "He's already suspicious of you." That slip mattered. Not fear, control. She didn't want me near the one person she claimed was already involved. I ended the call. By midday the next day, I decided to look for the daughter without pulling police into it. A missing person report becomes a machine, and I didn't know which part of this was staged. I picked a strip mall with heavy foot traffic and parked where I could see entrances. I could sit there for hours without looking unusual. I ordered coffee and set it in the cup holder without drinking. I stared at my case file on the passenger seat and didn't open it. My brain kept trying to make one clean narrative, and it wouldn't. At 2:15 p.m., the daughter walked across the lot with a phone in one hand and a small shopping bag in the other. Hoodie, same shape as the stills. She wasn't restrained. She wasn't sprinting. She moved like she had errands. I took 2 wide photos with storefront signs and the lot markings in frame. My camera app embedded the time. She stopped by a sedan parked 2 spaces from a van with a church bumper sticker. A man got out of the van. Collared shirt, clean haircut. It matched the youth pastor's headshot. He handed her an envelope. She handed him folded paper. The paper was thin, bright, with a faint borderline. Receipt stock. Motel receipt stock. She put the envelope in her hoodie pocket and walked away. He opened a receipt paper just enough to read a line, then folded it and put it in his wallet. That moved the case from missing to managed. It also raised the stakes in a way I didn't like. If the daughter was meeting church staff in public, it wasn't just family drama. It was reputation protection with money behind it. I stayed in my car until the pastor drove out. Then I wrote down the time, his plate, and the direction he took. Back at my office, I laid everything out in order. Fake name receipt, $7,200 cash, voicemail blackmail, keycard sleeve, 1145, stills, 1150, phone ping, 1147, toll records going north, plate tied to a church nonprofit, daughter alive at 2:15, passing motel receipt stock to the youth pastor. I checked my email. Nothing. At 3:07 p.m., an email hit my inbox.
Subject, cease and desist, / notice of intent. It was from the daughter's lawyer. Formal signature block, bar number, a PDF titled Draft Complaint. He accused me of taking $7,200 under false pretenses, representing an ability to recover a kidnapped person and participating in fraud. He demanded immediate return of funds and all materials. Then the sentence that tightened my throat. Client has reason to believe investigator requested payment be made in cash and in a false name. Requested. That word wasn't an accident. It was a weapon.
The draft complaint had my office described down to the strip mall unit type. It read assembled, not guessed. I printed it and printed the headers with server timestamps. If this turned into a licensing complaint, timing would matter. I called the lawyer's office. An assistant answered. "Tell him I have surveillance confirming the daughter isn't missing," I said. "She is missing," the assistant said. Fast, flat. "I have time-stamped photos from 2:15 today," I said. A pause. Paper shuffling. "Send them." "He'll advise you to cease contact with our client," she added. "I'm contacting you," I said. She hung up. I sat at my desk and reread the cease and desist twice. I found nothing new. I read it a third time, and it still didn't change. I needed to understand what the youth pastor was doing in the middle. If he was receiving motel receipt notes, he was either collecting proof or tracking payments. I ran his phone number through a breach database. It tied to a personal email, not the church domain. I ran that email through a financial risk dataset I can access through a vendor. I got a hit tied to an offshore betting site account with a ledger extract floating in a civil case data dump. Not admissible, lot clean, a lead. I printed it and wrote "lead only" at the top. Balance due $10,000. Payment schedule $7,200 due immediately, $2,800 due in 30 days. Notes: installment accepted by cash drop, confirm receipt. The $7,200 sat there on the paper and didn't change, so the cash wasn't ransom. It was a debt payment, and my fake name receipt gave them a place to pin it if they needed a fall guy. I pulled out the cash bands again. One had a faint bank vault strap stamp, branch code, date 2 days ago. I called the bank's general line and got routed to a fraud prompt. "I'm looking at a vault strap," I said. "Is that teller packed or vault order?" "It's a branch vault strap," the rep said. "Cash withdrawal pack." "So someone withdrew it from a branch?" I said. "It could be teller or vault order," she said. "We can't confirm without an account holder." I didn't have legal power. I had persuasion and a deadline. I texted the mother. "Your lawyer says I requested cash. Prove I didn't. Send the withdrawal record for $7,200. She didn't respond for an hour. When she did, she sent a screenshot of a withdrawal slip. $7,200 cash 2 days ago. Memo line, home repair. Teller stamp visible. I put the slip next to the betting ledger printout. Same number. 2 separate cover stories. I didn't like what it said about the daughter either. I'd been slow to accept she was active. I hesitate with young adults in family cases, and in this line of work, that hesitation costs me. I started making copies, hard copies and digital. Originals in one folder, working copies in another, no client name on the tab. I scanned the keycard sleeve, both sides. I exported the strip mall photos with metadata intact. I saved the email headers. I photographed the top serial numbers on each cash stack and sealed the money in an evidence bag with tape, dated and initialed. Then
I called a defense attorney I'd crossed paths with before. Not a friend, not someone I fully trusted.
Someone who understood how fast a draft complaint becomes a board complaint. He answered on the second ring. "I need to drop a hot file," I said. "Fraud setup, 2-day timer." "Do you have paper?" he asked. "I have a fake receipt," I said. "Cash, staged kidnapping, pastor with gambling debt." He paused. "Pastor," he said. "That's their shield." "I think so," I said. "Bring copies," he said. "Not originals, and don't come here." "Where?" I said. "Strip mall lot near your office," he said. 10 minutes. I didn't like how quickly he chose my turf. It felt controlling. I also didn't have better options inside the clock. On my way out, I stopped at my office door with my hand on the knob and didn't open it right away. I pictured the mother's wallet swallowing my fake receipt. I pictured it in an exhibit list. My phone screen dimmed before I moved. I drove to the lot and parked with a clear path out. Engine running, copies in a plain envelope on the passenger seat, flash drive in my pocket. He arrived in a sedan and parked 2 spaces away. He got out with a legal pad, no briefcase. He opened my passenger door without asking, saw the envelope, and shut the door. "Talk," he said. I didn't like that either. But I gave him timestamps, not feelings. Keycard sleeve says 11:45 p.m. Stills show the daughter entering at 11:50. Mother's phone pings the motel at 11:47. Toll tag shows a car heading north at 11:30 and 12:06 on a plate tied to a church nonprofit. Yesterday at 2:15, I photographed the daughter alive, passing motel receipt stock to the youth pastor connected to that nonprofit. "And the money?" he asked. "Mother withdrew $7,200 2 days ago," I said. "Pastor has a betting ledger with a $7,200 installment due immediately." "That ledger source," he said. "Can you explain it cleanly?" "Not clean," I said. "Data dump from a civil case file set. Lead only." He nodded once. "Good you said that." I pulled the flash drive out, but didn't hand it over right away. He noticed. "You don't trust me." "I trust what you do for a living," I said.
That's not the same. He held out his hand and waited. I handed him the flash drive and the envelope of copies, not originals. He tucked them into his inside jacket pocket. "You're going to get another email or call," he said. "They'll offer you a chance to make it right." "Don't." "I won't," I said. He turned to leave, then stopped. "When did you sign the receipt?" "Yesterday morning," I said. I almost said this morning out of habit. I caught it before it came out. I was tired, and it showed in small ways that could hurt me later. He wrote it down and left. I stayed in my car after he drove off. I listened to the engine idle. I watched people load groceries 2 rows away and didn't move yet. At 6:22 p.m. another message came from the daughter's lawyer. Same thread, sharper. He gave me until noon 2 days from the mother's intake to return the money and all evidence, or he would file and notify the licensing board. Noon turned the countdown into a specific time on a specific day. I replied with 1 sentence and 1 attachment. Attached are time-stamped photos showing your client alive and unrestrained at 2:15 p.m. yesterday. 10 minutes later, he replied, "These images prove nothing. Cease all contact." That wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a commitment to a pre-written story. I wrote one sentence in my notebook and left it there. I helped them build the... It didn't tell me what to do next. It just sat on the page. The next morning, with less than 24 hours left, I assembled a dossier in duplicate. Toll tag logs, GPS screenshot, keycard sleeve scan, motel stills, strip mall photos with metadata, betting ledger marked lead only, bank withdrawal slip screenshot, and the lawyer's cease and desist with headers. I didn't go to the church. I didn't go to the motel. I didn't go to the mother's house. I set a meeting in a public strip mall lot near my office and texted the mother to come alone. I also emailed the lawyer that I'd meet there to return materials if he wanted them. I didn't tell either of them I'd contacted the other.
The mother arrived first, in a different car. She parked crooked. She walked up to my passenger window. "Did you find her?" I held up the photo print. The daughter, hoodie up, walking free. The mother didn't slump with relief. She didn't shake. She got angry. "Why are you stalking her?" she said. "It's surveillance," I said. "You paid for it." "Give me my money back," she said. "Now." "I can't," I said. "Not to you, not this way." "My lawyer will ruin you," she said. "I sent him the photos," I said. "He didn't care." That threw her off for a second. Then she reset. "She's still missing," she said. "You don't know what you're looking at." I tapped the toll log print at 11:30 p.m. "Your car wasn't near the motel," I said. "Your phone was. Those can't both be true unless you planned it." "That's not my car." "Then your toll tag account is tied to a church non-profit plate," I said. "Explain that." "I borrowed—" "You already said that," I said.
Different car now, different story. The lawyer pulled into the lot in a late-model SUV with tinted windows. He stayed by his driver's door and raised his voice. "I'm here for the return of funds." Public pressure, another tool. I got out with the manila envelope of copies and a second envelope holding the sealed evidence bag. I didn't hand either over. "Before you file," I said, "read what you're filing against." He stepped forward and held out his hand. "Hand it over." "Copies," I said, "not originals." "Then they're useless," he said. "They're enough for a defense attorney," I said. His jaw tightened a fraction. Annoyance, not surprise. I handed him the copy dossier. I did not hand him the cash. He flipped through fast, hunting. He stopped at the toll logs, then the GPS screenshot, then the strip mall photo. "This doesn't prove kidnapping is staged," he said. "It proves your fraud draft is wrong," I said. "Your client isn't missing." The mother cut in. "She was forced. That man—" I held up the motel stills. "Your own prints show her walking in," I said. "No restraints."
And at 2:15 yesterday, she handed motel receipt stock to the youth pastor tied to your toll plate. The mother's face tightened. She shook her head once. The lawyer's voice dropped. "You're accusing a clergy member." "I'm stating what I observed," I said. "And I'm stating that $7,200 matches his debt ledger installment." "You obtained that illegally," he snapped. "I labeled it a lead," I said. "If you want to test it, subpoena it." The mother took a step back, noticing the lot around her. People walking past, a couple loading a trunk, the normal world closing in. The lawyer shut the dossier. "You'll return the cash." "I'll deposit it with counsel," I said. "Not you, not her."
He stared at my hands, then at the envelope. He wasn't used to hearing no. "He will file," he said, turning toward his SUV. "I already gave copies to a defense attorney," I said, time-stamped. "If you file, he files back. And your draft complaints line about me requesting a fake name becomes a discovery problem." The mother started. "You can't prove I cut in."
Your voicemail file was resaved at 9:12 a.m. today, I said. You were packaging evidence while telling me your daughter was missing. That was the timeline collision I'd been waiting to earn, and I had it in print. I'd signed the retainer receipt at 9:03 a.m. yesterday, per my office camera log, and her forwarded voicemail showed a last save time of 9:12 a.m. today. She'd been executing the next phase while I was still untangling the first. The lawyer paused with his hand on his door handle. He didn't turn around. He just stood still. The mother's voice went thin. "That doesn't mean anything. It means you weren't panicking. You were managing." The lawyer got in his SUV and drove off. He didn't take the cash. He didn't make a scene. He got what he came for, enough to measure his risk. The mother stayed a second longer, and she looked tired. Not guilty tired, logistics tired. "You're going to ruin lives." "I'm trying not to have mine ruined," I said. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. "Give me the money."
I can fix this. I believed she could fix it. That was the problem. "No," I said. She stared at me, then went back to her car and drove away. I didn't follow. I didn't chase. With the timer running, chasing would only give them video of me doing exactly what their draft complaint described. Back at my office, I locked the door and pulled the blinds halfway. I made one more copy set and sealed it on a fresh flash drive, dated in marker, addressed only to the defense attorney. I wiped my desk with a damp paper towel until the grime came up gray. It wasn't about cleanliness. It was about resetting the surface so I didn't miss what was in front of me. I took the sealed evidence bag with the $7,200 and put it in my safe. I logged the time and date in my notebook. I logged the attorney handoff and the fact that the filing was delayed, not dead.
When I shut my office door for the night, the motel keycard sleeve was still on my desk, and room 214 still read 11:45 p.m., stamped too hard to be an accident.